Once upon a time, in the little town of Dunkelstadt, there was a shoemaker who worked very hard and was very honest. Still, no matter how hard he worked, he couldn't earn enough to live on, and things kept getting worse and worse. Finally, he and his wife didn't have anything left between them except just enough leather to make one pair of shoes. That evening, he cut out his leather and put the pieces on his workbench, meaning to get up early the next morning and sew the pieces together. Then he said his prayers and went happily to bed. Next morning he got up, whistled a cheerful tune, and sat down at his workbench again, thinking that he'd now go to work stitching the leather pieces together to make the pair of shoes. But can you imagine his surprise when he found that the shoes were already standing there, completely finished? Mr. Shoemaker could hardly believe his eyes. He looked at the shoes and turned them over in his hands, but there wasn't one false stitch in the whole job. It was the finest pair of shoes he'd ever seen. That same morning, a customer came to his workshop. He liked the shoes so well that he willingly paid a high price for them. That made poor Mr. Shoemaker very happy, because with the money he bought enough leather to make 2 more pair of shoes. That evening he cut out the leather and went to bed early so that he could get up at dawn and stitch the pieces together. But he was saved all that trouble, because in the morning the work was already done. Now there were 2 fine pair of shoes waiting for him on the workbench, and the stitching was just as fine as the day before. 2 customers came in shortly afterwards, and they paid him very well for such beautiful shoes, so that the shoemaker bought enough leather to make 4 pair more. Once more he cut out the work in the evening and found it was done in the morning. And so it went on for quite a while. Whatever was ready at night was always finished at daybreak. The shoemaker's shop became known as the best in town, and his business was booming. One evening around Christmas time, as he and his wife were sitting in front of the fire chatting together, he said to her, "I'd like to stay up and watch tonight and see who it is that comes and does my work for me." The wife agreed, so they left a light burning over the workbench and hid themselves behind the curtains in one corner of the room. As soon as it was midnight, 2 little dwarfs came into the room and began to dance up and down on the shoemaker's bench. One of these elves was dressed in a raggedy shirt and a torn pair of trousers. He had bushy gray hair and spoke in a whisper. "Did I tell you the news?" he said to the other elf. "A man came to town with a hat made of roast beef, a coat made of cream cheese, and buttons made of doughnuts. They say his name's Willie Wood." When the first little dwarf had stopped singing and dancing, the second one jumped up on a shelf and started to laugh. He wore a tattered old coat with holes all over it and had a bushy head of red hair. "I've heard some other news," he said in a cracked voice. "Another man's come to our town, and he ate up all the roast beef, all the cream cheese, and all the doughnuts, and they say his name is Achin Drum." And then the red-haired dwarf began to sing.
Well, another man came to our town, to our town, to our town. Another man came to our town, and his name was Achin Drum. And he played upon the guitar, the guitar, the guitar. He played upon the guitar, and his name was Achin Drum. Well, he ate up all the good roast beef, the good roast beef, the good roast beef. He ate up all the good roast beef, and his name was Achin Drum. And he played upon the guitar, the guitar, the guitar. He played upon the guitar, and his name was Achin Drum. Well, he ate up all the cream cheese, the cream cheese, the cream cheese. He ate up all the cream cheese, and his name was Achin Drum. And he played upon the guitar, the guitar, the guitar. He played upon the guitar, and his name was Achin Drum. And he ate up all the doughnuts, the doughnuts, the doughnuts. He ate up all the doughnuts, and his name was Aiken Drum. And he played upon the guitar, the guitar, the guitar. He played upon the guitar, and his name was Aiken Drum.